All right, President Bola Tinubu will leave Abuja anytime today to attend the Group of 20 Leaders Summit in the Indian capital of New Delhi. The president is attending the summit on the special invitation of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Now, presidential spokesman Ajuri Ngalali said in a statement that on the sidelines of the summit, the president will participate in and deliver keynote addresses at both the Nigeria-India Presidential Roundtable and the Nigeria-India Business Conference. Now, the president aims to leverage this platform to attract global capital and promote increased foreign direct investment in key labor-intensive sectors of Nigeria's economy for job creation and revenue expansion. Well, I do have my guest joining me virtually to talk more on this discussion. I do have John Akirile, a social commentator, and Ambrose Igboke, who is Chairman Public Affairs Analyst, Enugu Chapter. Good morning to you, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Good morning, John.
Thank you for having me.
Good to have you, John. Ambrose, good morning to you as well.
Good morning.
Oh, great, great. Good to have you. So let me start with you, Ambrose. Can you tell us the specific sectors or industries that Nigeria should aim to showcase to potential investors as it stands right now?
I think the first one we should be talking about is the thing that has money. We should start from the known to the unknown. The known is our petroleum sector.
Okay.
The petroleum industry bill have been signed since into law. Why have people invested in the modular refineries and refineries? So something is definitely wrong. It is not enough to go to Doha, to go to G8, to go to BRICS, to go to all the United Nations and talk English. What is the ease of doing business in Nigeria? What kind of policies do we have? The policies that we have, do they really promote foreign direct investment? Do they, create investors' confidence? These are the things we see. There are too many policy somersaults in Nigeria. We are not consistent as a country. So the first thing we should look at, first of all, is to put our laws together that enhance people coming in, that will engender interest in investing in Nigeria. When you check the Petroleum Industry Bill, for example, Act, PIA, that has been passed running 2 years, nobody has even put down his or her money for modular refinery. Rather, the country is investing in a one-man's refinery in Lagos. So the country is, if NNPC or LMPL as it's called, is investing in another person's refinery, an individual's private refinery, what kind of confidence are you giving? So the state is actually a competitor against others. So these are kind of policies we do that make investors shake. So the first and primary interest in investment should be our petroleum sector. We need to refine, excuse me.
No problem.
We need to refine our products locally. And you know that when we refine our petroleum products locally, it brings up a lot of industries. There are over 100 byproducts of petroleum, of refining petroleum, including grease, including fertilizers, including bitumen, including fertilizers. There are so many of them, gas, a lot. So for Nigeria, not even refining oil, crude oil here, are taking away millions of jobs from Nigeria and billions of dollars from the country. And then to one extent, we now import it in refined products. Capital flight is moving. We are wasting our foreign reserve. We are wasting our exchange. That's why the naira continues being weak. So that is the first point of call. The second one is we generate electricity and make power constant in Nigeria. Those, there was a time, Professor Barton, when he was power minister, there was a time they brought in a company called Manitoba of Canada. They said they were very good and they were trying to, the federal government truncated the time they were trying to unbundle NEPA at that time. So it is time to actually look at the distribution company, the discos, they didn't know what to do with the company they inherited. So it is time for God to actually now say, Now, I think I know that Buhari signed the. I think there's a kind of giving away now. They have moved some of the aspects of the electricity to the concurrent list, so states can now also invest. So it is time to now even tell them that, look, that come encourage the states, to also now have business with big companies of this world, like electricity companies, or bring them in, and let's have especially off-grid solutions to our plenty problems. We don't need all these old school things that will run from Kenji Dam, Shiroro, everywhere, and then no, we can do off-grid solutions to many industries, and that will save a lot of things.
Okay.
Now that is another area.
All right then.
The third area is exploitation of our solid minerals.
Okay.
So these are areas we need to, that for me is the three fundamental. When we get this right, we'll have enough money to pay our doctors. We'll have enough money to start looking at our education sector. We'll have enough money to start looking at our aviation. We'll generate massive funding for Nigeria to be able to, cater for other things.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you.
Whatever you are doing, ease of doing business is very important.
Ease of doing business, of course. Now, John, let me come to you now. Ambrose did not mention agriculture there. This was your purview for a long time before you moved on to other things. Now, if Nigeria is to sell its agricultural potentials to the rest of the world at the G-20 summit, where do you think Nigeria should take it from?
I think G20 countries know very well that Nigeria is a country that is huge when it comes to agricultural produce. But can we say that our produce meet up to the international standard? The answer is no. So what do we need to do is to see how we can maximize the value chain that is embedded in the agricultural sector. An example, I'll take one product, which is cashew nuts. There's huge demand of cashew nuts in the global market, okay? And some people will buy the raw cashew nuts, called the RCL. They make addition to it, and then they sell to you at a very exorbitant or expensive rate. And you are like, we are the ones selling this raw cashew nut to you, but look at the amount you're selling back to us, the finished product. So it means that if you look at each one product, on agricultural product, long value chain. Plantain, for instance, also has its own value chain, from plantain to your dudu, to your plantain chips, to making of vim, in production of vim, and other things. So we need to look at how we can maximize the value chain. And I think Mr. President going to India should sell the country to the G20 countries that Nigeria is a place where they can come invest and attract foreign direct investment. But most, in all sincerity of purpose and concern for Nigeria, my country, I have some questions that are hanging in the air. And the questions will be, what is the rule of law in terms of how do your country relate to rule of law? What are the policies in place? When we bring in our dollars, do we have policies that can stimulate the agricultural sector to make sure that we can have our money back, even if we don't have profits? What are the infrastructural apparatus in place that will make business work for us, even when we bring in our dollars? So these are some of the questions that people will be asking. Also, what is the integrity of the person speaking? These are questions that are hanging. And I've said them a number that if we want countries of the world, then we must take ourselves serious by answering some little questions locally. If you go out there and read a perfect script or speech to the so-called G20 leaders, they know what is happening on ground. Some of them have, their reporters. I give them first-hand information that you cannot even hear on our own local terrestrial TV stations. And so they have their own way of getting their own information. So when they look at the reality on ground and the speech you give to them, that yes, come to Nigeria. Nigeria is the safest country in the world. And they know that in terms of security, we are not there. So what we should do as a government and as a people is that we should clean house first before going out there to even speak, because these guys come with their money, but then you have infrastructural deficit, you have, in terms of human resource, the technicality is not there. You are still practicing the old way of doing farming of cutlass and hoe, when people have moved into highly mechanized farming system, and therefore we also talk about the output. So we need to check first before we go out there. So we need to sweep our house, make sure that everything is placed in order. And so when this investment finally comes in, we can look at the areas where, because okay, in this area of mechanization, we need this kind of funds, we need this kind of farm tools and farm implements. In this area of seedling, this is what we need. In this area of tilling ground, this is what we need. In this area of irrigation, this is what we need. And so when these investments come in, you can look at how to now channel them to all of the areas where you have highlighted. But in this case, we have not done even our cleanup in the house and then going out to sell Nigeria. I wonder what they will sell. And this is not the first time we are going to summit. Even before President Bola Tinubu came on board, there are other presidents that have been going to summit. At the end of the day, what is the effect of this summit? After you go out there and give all this speech, does it still portray us in that same light as the giant of Africa? The answer to me, does it still say that Nigeria is a good place for business to thrive? If you ask me as a farmer, as a businessman, I'll say to you, the answer is no. I can give you the number of businesses that have shut down in the country in the last 8 years. I can tell the number of business owners that have relocated from Nigeria to other parts of the world. Why? Because the environment is not conducive for them to thrive. I can tell you the number of young people that have migrated to other parts of the world to make sure that they can have these little things. What are they asking for? A conducive environment where business can thrive, where they can have power supply 24/7. You understand? Where governmental policies help and encourage young entrepreneurs to go into businesses, employ more people, and have more entrepreneurs generated. An environment where people can trust government in terms of their policies, an environment where agriculture is highly incentivized, an environment where young people are the bane of the economy and they are driving it with all of their forces. And I think that is the way for us to go as a country. So if Mr. President is going to India, you also know that India is also a strong force when it comes to agricultural. Okay, they are one of the best when it comes to cashew nut production. And look at the way they are going about their own products. And year in, year out, they have farm produce to sell to the world. What can we do as a country, Nigeria, with over 200 million population, largest in Africa? And I think that's also a call for answer. But rather, our leaders just go on frivolities. But what I think they should do, look at countries like India. How are they able to revolve the sector? Look at the countries like China. China never had, now export Gary. That for me is something that is really mind-boggling. They now export palm oil. Moses, I can say to you boldly, go to any Asian country and look at the quality of Gary they sell there. These Garis are not imported from Nigeria. They are produced right there in China, right there in Asia. And then the question you ask is, how did they get cassava tuber? So if China can learn from us and improve on it, why can't we learn from them in terms of mechanization, in terms of farm implement and present day practice of agricultural system, so that we can have increased farm produce and we can have yield in terms of productivity. I think from that's the way to go. If not, I don't see a way out if you don't go by the way of agriculture.
Going by the way of agriculture, now there are other things we'll need to look at now. Ambrose, I'm coming to you now. Before the president assumed office, he went to France, and we heard that he went there to seek investors for when he becomes the president of Nigeria. But why is it that up until now, we have not started seeing the influx of investors coming to Nigeria? What would you say are the factors that has hindered that? And what difference really would the attendance of the G-20 summit make? Now, I hear that Ambrose, the connection with Ambrose has been disconnected. So I'm going to stay with you, John, on this one. I hope you got the question, John.
I think for me, the president went to France, and that's why for any country, your number one citizen that happens to be your president, takes a very serious role in terms of standing globally, and the kind of the so-called private sector perceive your number one president to be, is a thing that they cannot say to you publicly, but they show it in terms of their actions and responses to some of your agitations and calls, or appeal. So I think for me, even presidents have gone to France, and up till now, we are not seeing those influx of foreign direct investment. It shows to you that they just listen to you and they are not giving you their money. Well, some of the questions they are asking is not being answered. Questions like security. Okay, in a case where you don't have a secure environment, how do businesses thrive? Okay, so Moses, let me give you an example. You have an office in Ikeja on that bridge, and you have been robbed repeatedly on that axis. Do you think your friend who knows you have an office in Ikeja on that bridge, know that you have been robbed repeatedly, would want to come and rent a shop space in that same area? He won't. He won't. Even though you show him a good business proposal, he nods his head, but he won't still come and get a shop near there. Why? Because he knows that after they stop from your own shop, they are coming to his own shop. So rather, he will look for a place where he's safe, where his businesses can thrive, where he can expand, he can make more money, he can make profits from what he's bringing into the sector. So I think for the government to know that it's a thing that is really serious, security is number one. I would have expected this administration, Moses, that upon assumption, they would have declared a state of emergency in security in terms of employing more people. Moses, let this government take this from me. The same way we produce corps members every year, can we start also producing police every year? Can we start that as well?
Well, that's in the offing.
We don't have enough police officers to secure even a local government.
Well,
how much more a country?
As it is right now, Go ahead, John.
So what I think we should do is to take our security serious.
Okay.
How much do we budget for our security?
Okay.
How many personnel do we have?
In response,
how many personnel do we have? How many do our senators even carry?
Okay.
How many do senators' wives carry? How many do senators' girlfriend carry? Okay. How many do senators' child chick carry?
All right. In response to that, we do know right now that the PSC, the Police Service Commission, is asking for, to employ 190,000 police constables as to fill up spaces. So hopefully, if they get the number, then we'll have enough policemen, in the force, hopefully. Well, let me come to Ambrose now. I hear that we've reconnected with Ambrose. Now, Ambrose, one of the things that the president will be speaking on will be the One Earth, One Family, One Future theme. That's the theme for the G-20 summit. One Earth, One Family, One Future. And, this basically speaks to the global unity required to address the challenges of, facing humanity. In light of this, a school of thought would say, if you look at what just transpired not too long ago, about some weeks back, where oil vessels were apprehended for stealing oil and destroyed, the impact that had on the ecosystem. How do you think Nigeria will go about addressing the rest of the world at the G20 summit in light of that? Talking about the One Earth, One Family, One Future.
Those are slogans that the West, Europe and America used to deceive African countries and developing countries. There's nothing like one family. We have one Earth. We have different future. And we don't have one family. These are cliches as they come up with to deceive Africans and developing world to say, "Oh, we are all in the same. We are all in the same situation." We are not in the same situation. These guys have been exploiting Africa for the past 200 years. For the past 400 years, when the Christian missionaries started coming, They have always, came with economic subjugation agenda. And that's what they've been practicing for over 500 years, until they uprooted all our kings, all our sovereign kings, Baramwe, Judge of Opopo, all our kings were dethroned. So, and then recently, the information flow is one-sided. Even the oil we're exploiting, the petroleum product, the JVC, joint venture companies that Nigeria floated with the oil, international oil corporations, Nigeria is having 49% equity and the other ones are having 51%. See what they are doing in what France is doing in the Francophone countries in Africa. Neo-colonialism that has, rattled the entire region and stolen all their wealth. The same thing is happening here. Go to the British Museum, all the artifacts of the stolen, all the bronze work stolen from the looting of the palace of Oba of Benin, Oba of Aramenokbaisi in 1897. They are all still there, worth billions. They have refused to return them. These people, African corrupt leaders, take money to their place, take money to Switzerland, to London, to America, and they use it to grow their economy. They don't return it. So these are cliches. For example, I would expect Nigeria that speech should start being practical. The West have told us not to use some of our resources, that they are carbon emission and all those kind of stories. Meanwhile, those people use those technology for more than 200 years to develop their economy. They are still using it. Example is coal. Coal is a natural mineral resources that Nigeria can use for a lot of products, including bitumen that we use for construction of road. We are importing bitumen. Meanwhile, coal is there. When we process and use it for bitumen, we can use it to generate electricity, we can use it to cook, we can use it to do a lot of things. Instead of us to find new ways to, harness this potential and other mineral. Meanwhile, these same people that say we should not use coal come illegally to mine. I heard in the newspaper review talking about mining. They come illegally to mine our resources using all kinds of illegal people and front, export it illegally to their countries. And they have the temerity to come and start talking about one family. We are not one family. We are people who have been exploited. So African leaders should stop playing to the gallery with this kind of slogans. For me, Nigeria should exist things like a Kyoto Protocol or the Paris Climate Change Agreement. Our natural resources. Imagine that United States of America has pulled out from such a climate change agreement. China has pulled out. Serious countries are pulling out because it's affecting their technology growth. America that is pushing for climate change and all those kind of stuff have exited. 23% of electricity in the United States today is generated from coal. Meanwhile, we are not touching our own. Time to Africans to have retrospect, including Nigeria. And we don't just go as in the international stage to change what they want. Probably the person who wrote the speech for these kind of things we're pandering Brentwood institutions like IMF and all the UNDP and all those things. Those are the kind of speech they will write for our leaders and they will go and speak there. So one family, if we are one family, we must trade on egalitarian issues. We cannot be having World Trade Organization controlled by the US, defining prices, international prices for crude oil, defining prices for lithium, defining prices for gold, defining what we will sell for cocoa and the rest. These people define the price we will sell to them. They will come exploit our material and then tell us that this is what they will buy from us and call it international market price. You don't do your family like that. That is not one family. You don't exploit your family. You don't degrade your family. You don't steal from your family. You don't destroy your family. So when these people come to tell us all these kind of cliches, African leaders should reject them. We should give our theme, our study, and so if we must speak on this theme, I will expect the president to talk about egalitarianism, equal rights, a fixing market price. We must be carried along. We must fix our own price. We must be allowed to sell our own product at international market price that we determine by ourselves and not IMF and not people telling us to devalue our currency. That is what is happening. You say, oh, your currency is not strong enough, devalue it. And then African leaders are devaluing their currency. Based on what? Based on voodoo economics from the Brentwood institutions. So these are the things that, make Africa perpetually subjugated and, we don't do things in our own terms. These people come to us and tell us all kinds of things. All the industries we have in Nigeria over the years are all dead, all the mega industries. How do we reactivate them? So it is not about going to talk to investors. What are they investing in? What are the terms of the investment? What, even all these things Chinese that are building infrastructure, if you open up the terms of what they are doing with us, you'll be amazed. So it is time for African leaders to really come back. For example, Ukraine is in war, and Ukraine is still exporting grain to Africa and telling Africa they can help Africa with grain. That is the insult of the century. So we're having Africa with the gold mine. The West is coming to exploit it and telling us that we are one family. So that is the greatest danger, and that is the great tragedy of the African continent, including Nigeria, in the 21st century. And once we keep playing to the gallery and not talking to the G20 or G8 or wherever they are, we must tell them the truth. We must tell them that they are cheating us. We must tell them that we have to equal terms. America will subsidize its farmers to a ludicrous level, and they'll bring out their product and sell cheaply as possible. The same thing with China. These people will always, subsidize their people and sell their product cheap. Why do you think Chinese products are flooding Nigeria in a very cheap rate? Local manufacturers cannot keep up to the pace.
All right.
So that is the exact problem. These are the things we need to look at. We sit down the round table with them and negotiate on an egalitarian basis with these people, and not one family, one earth, one future kind of slogan.
All right, then. Thank you very much, Ambrose. Now, John, do you share the same view as to the theme of the summit? One earth, one family, one future. John?
Let's leave one earth first. Let's leave one earth first.
Okay.
Family first.
Now, as you respond to that, John, I want you to lump this. As you respond to that, I would also like you to, we can't all be negative minded about this. All right. As you respond to that, I would like for you to, go a little bit deeper. Give me some examples of successful investment attraction initiatives that Nigeria has previously undertaken. Go ahead.
Okay, let me even go back to, because we must talk about the reality of the issue on ground. My brother there, who are wonderful suggestions. But do you think our own president would have the audacity to ask just such questions? Don't forget, there's still a case of Chicago State University and all of that. And John. Chicago State University is also investing in the US. So if you are using this summit to bring up such issue, do you think he is standing in the right position to be able to give such a speech at a forum like that?
Well,
he's a question to be answered.
He's the president of a country.
African leaders, have we shown to the G20 or G8 or G44 that we ourselves practice true democracy and that we can take care of our people ourselves? So you see that when we go to make some of these speeches, the reality back home negates the speech, and that's why they don't take us serious. Okay, you have given good scenarios in terms of industrialization, just like you said. Growing up, I used to hear of Michelin, and I also see the advert on TV. Dunlop Elite, I remember the advert. Dunlop Elite now. Dunlop is no longer in Nigeria. Michelin is no longer in Nigeria. And that will say to you that some of these industries where we have a lot of raw materials used. So you go out there to complain to these G20 countries that, yes, we don't have enough money, whereas our own leaders show wealth and affluence. And then you ask yourself a question. How come that you say there's no money in your country to develop educational system, but then you're sending in vehicles of one person, 300 million vehicle? So where is that money coming from? So we are also showing to the world that I'm not a country that knows what to do at a time, even with the money we have with us. And so if we even get more money, are we sure that we can expend this money in the right proportion as for development of the society? These are questions that should be asked, okay? So if we are looking at areas where the government should go now, in terms of what they should do, number one is we have a high population of young people, okay, that can be used in different areas in terms of industrialization, in terms of small and medium scale enterprise to engineer the okay. In terms of G Summit, one earth, one family. What they are saying to you, they are one family because they also work with our corrupt leaders to steal our commonwealth. You will say, if there's no insider, there's no robber that can come from the outside to rob your house because they don't know the way to navigate your compound. So the point is, if the Westerners or the West, so-called West, is exploiting, then who gave them the chance to do that? It shows that our leaders are also,
complicit,
hand in hand in helping this to happen. That's on one hand. On the other hand is, if they know that even you, before you became a president, you are stealing some funds, and some of these funds are resting in some of foreign accounts in other countries of the world, how then do you have the moral standing to challenge their egalitarian order? Because they also know that even you yourself, you don't have a good standing. And so this is a complicated situation. But what I think we should do is, one, let's look at our climatic condition. As a country, when I was growing up, if they said to you, 2 o'clock, the sun will shine. 2 o'clock, my brother, the sun will shine. But now, if they said to you, 7 a.m., rain will fall, my brother, till the whole of that day, you might not even see a single drop of rain. What is that saying to us? It's saying to us that we are having issues with our climatic weather condition, and that we have to do with human activities. Okay, so what can we do in terms of making an environment eco-friendly? That will also come in terms of production, that will come in terms of afforestation, and this is a whole channel, a whole circle on its own, that if you look at to have loads and loads of employment coming to that sector. But Moses, what I think we should do is to have institutions across board that can breed good people and make sure that we have a system that works for all. People want to be mad, but when there's a system that can check them, their madness will be curtailed. That's what I think we should do.
All right,
as to one family, are we one family? The answer is no. These countries that are saying that they are one family, they have 24 hours power supply in their country. In Nigeria, you don't even have 12 hours power supply. And we are not one family. You dole out money to people, pay out as aid, as grants, and at the end of the day, you don't even know how the money ended. There's no economic importance of that money. The money is not even felt in the economic sector. And so these are questions. So some of them are also, aiding and abetting. They give out funds to you. At the end of the day, they see help in stealing some of these funds back to their own country. How come our politicians have foreign accounts all over the world and they have money in those accounts, knowing fully well the kind of job they do, that they are senators? How much does the senator earn in a month? They can have over $100 million. So these are questions that are asked, and this money does not even sit in naira. They sit in foreign in foreign units.
All right,
so
all right, John.
Where I say that the West also is culpable in this action, and our leader, I don't think, maybe he can say that to them at G20, but I'm not sure Mr. President I know would have that balls, to say that to the so-called West when he gets to the summit.
All right, then. So unfortunately, time is up for this topic, and I would have to, John, I would like for you to stay with me a little bit longer as we go into the second topic. But for Ambrose, I understand that we have to let you go. But before we do, in 60 seconds, just give me your final thoughts on what we've spoken about so far, Ambrose, and then we'll let you go.
What exactly what we're talking about?
Your final thoughts, really, on the topic that we've shared.
Yeah. First of all, African leaders should wake up.
Okay. We
have been in the doldrums for too long.
Okay.
The Western leaders treat us as this headmaster puppy relationship. African leaders are somewhat to Russia. They want to meet Russian president. All of them are somewhat to Russia. 54 African leaders will rush to Russia to go and meet Vladimir Putin. Tomorrow, someone by Chinese president Xi Jinping, all of them will run to Xi Jinping in China to go and meet all African leaders. Tomorrow, US someone's them. I said, what kind of shame is this? So African leaders should start. If you want to see African leaders, you come to the AU summit and talk to them, or you visit the African countries you want to do. Why are you lumping everybody together? And then when we go to this kind of conferences, We should also start talking about, at home, African unity in the real sense of it. Africa have too many borders. We have up to 50-something currencies in Africa. We have multiple borders. We cannot progress as single entity nations if we are not having economic cooperation within the African continent. And that is what the eco currency, for example, failed because Paris told the Francophone countries not to be part of it. So these are the ways this West, they are not allowing Africa to be one family. They are creating all kinds of dichotomy along Francophone, Dutch, and English lines, creating borders, making sure Africa is not united, yet they go and say we are one family. African leaders should stop playing to the gallery. And we should take our destiny and focus on freeing Africa from economic slavery.
All right, Ambrose Igboke, your thoughts are very valid, and we do appreciate your thoughts on the program. Thank you very much for coming on the program. Up next on VOP this morning, yet another sorrowful day for the families of 7 worshippers killed by bandits who attacked a mosque in Kaduna, and then in Enugu, 4 children of the same family killed in a building collapse. Are we safer now than we were before? Question. Well, let's get right into this when we return from this break.